So episode 4 of Game of Thrones I enjoyed a bit more than episode 3, which was actually very divisive. And I'm definitely on the side that did not like the ending. But that's not what this video is about. After the battle with the White Walkers, half of Daenerys' army has been destroyed, the entire northern fleet gone, essentially putting her at a huge disadvantage for the battle to come. The first thing you're going to notice in this episode is that you can actually see everything again. I know what they were going for with the long night. It's supposed to mean a lot that you couldn't see anything, but it did not really translate to a viewing experience for a TV show kind of thing. Of course, after the last episode, everyone is celebrating, as they should be, for being the ones to survive. Maybe there's a bit too many survivors. So we also got a minor skirmish with Daenerys' armies and the Greyjoys, where we lost another dragon, basically Jon's dragon at this point, leaving only one of Dany's dragons left, the strongest and most powerful one. And that scene was actually really good. If Dany actually gets the Iron Throne, I hope that dragon doesn't die in the end, because if she's going to be known as the mother of dragons, you kind of want to have a dragon around. And it would just feel a lot better. It would remind me of the ancient Targaryens when they first took King's Landing, or I should say made King's Landing. And that skirmish on the seas with the Greyjoys, I'd say is almost on par with episode 3. And that battle, which is unfortunate, it's just a lot of little things got in the way. I think they kind of overdid it on certain aspects in episode 3. Another thing I want to mention is that it's not very noticeable in the beginning, but it becomes pretty common near the end of the episode, and that's the time skips. There's so many time skips ever since they went off book. And it makes sense. I don't know who's doing it, either HBO or the writers just don't think they have enough material. But ever since these seasons have been getting shorter, we're doing so many more time skips, which is going to be detrimental in the future. Like, the episode count is kind of ridiculous. It should not be this small. There should be a full season. Season 7 as well should have been a full season, not only a few episodes. But I'll come back to that later. Another point of contention, which like another complaint, and there's always going to be complaints in these episodes from now on, is that, you know, Jon and Bran telling Arya and Sansa that Jon was actually a Targaryen, or at least that's what I'm assuming happened, because we didn't actually see that. It cut to black the moment Jon asked Bran to tell them. And it's like, you know, the entire purpose of the scene was building up to that. It's not just to give the information away and let them know so that they know for the next scene. That entire scene was meant so that we can see their reactions. That's the payoff. The reaction is the payoff. And we didn't get that. And that's not the only time that happened in the episode. The same thing happened when Sansa was going to tell Tyrion that Jon was a Targaryen. And then it's like, okay, what would Tyrion's reaction be to this? And then it cuts to black, and then he's talking to Varys in the very next scene. It's a little bit frustrating. It actually reminds me of Godzilla 2014, if you've seen that movie. It's like you go there to see Godzilla, and they give you people instead, and you only see Godzilla really on TV screens, and at the very end you got like 10 minutes of him in a Godzilla movie. You know, it's just a little bit frustrating, that's all. You know, maybe it's like leftover hate from episode 3, because I was definitely on the side of kind of not liking the episode, at least a lot of it. I think the D&D writers just couldn't, either they couldn't write reactions for Sansa, Arya, or Tyrion, or they just thought it would be an actually good idea not to show the audience something so vital. But that's only the other major gripe, that and the time skips, which you can't really fault them for. If they're only given 6 episodes, of course there's going to be time skips. The most jarring time skip was the 2-week one. I think there was a line, either Jon or Varys said it, but it would take 2 weeks for the northern armies to reach King's Landing. And then the very next scene, you got a small militia with Dany there going to talk to Cersei. So 2 weeks passed. I don't think it was the very next scene. It was just a few minutes later. But it's still 2 weeks of Game of Thrones was skipped. Really, the problem here with the time skips, and I'm not blaming D&D for this, it's just like, imagine someone that's going to be binge watching this entire series after it's all over. It's just unfortunate that Game of Thrones has to end in such an unconventional way. You're going to go from season 1 where everything's slow and paced very well, and then it's all just going to ramp up at the end and give you a really fast conclusion. It sucks. Also, they're clearly setting up Daenerys' downfall as a mad queen. The fact that Varys actually said that he was worried about Dany's state of mind, and we clearly got a scene where Dany was kind of losing her mind when everyone was celebrating Jon in the very beginning and kind of ignoring her. And then we had her wrath when she saw one of her dragons fall from the sky, and she was nearly going to charge the entire ship and burn. I actually thought she was going to try and attack the ships, where she was pushed back. So clearly she's losing it a little bit, and they might be setting this up to have her push everyone to support Jon instead of her, because she's just like her ancestor, or just like her father. She's just too wrathful and unhinged. And we also get Jaime leaving the north, heading back to Cersei, and Brienne, of course. They seem to have started a kind of relationship between them. I'm not exactly sure where that's going to go, but I mean, Jaime is probably going to be the one to kill Cersei, I hope. I think that would be the best thing to do, since Jaime has always been kind of a slave to Cersei, I'd say. Unless, of course, and like, God forbid, Arya comes out of nowhere and tries to stab Cersei, just like she did the Night King. That would be awful. Let's just hope that doesn't happen. I wouldn't put it past D&D at this point. But I mean, this episode, sure, I can complain about a lot of things, but it's better than the last one at the very least, which I hate to say because I was really hyped for the long night. But it looks like Game of Thrones might end in a satisfying way at the very least. But I mean, so far, the only point of contention really is the abrupt Night King death, which kind of divided the fans a lot more than you think. But I mean, regardless of what D&D is going to do next, their reputation definitely took a hit from the long night, and let's hope they don't do anything more divisive than that.